Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare
Sankirtan ki jai. Om Premanande. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Adinulambita Bhujo Kanagavadato Sankirtanai Kapitoro Amalaya Takso Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavotaro Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gurudaya Pushpavanto Chitro Sangho Tumunugo Vandeham Shri Ramakrishna Abhaya Charana Sako Sugado Paramanando Sundaro Subala Priyo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Guru Vaishnava Guru Parampara Ki Jai Shri Gopal Bhatta Swami Avirbhav Kirti Mahamotsava Ki Jai. So today we have going to depart a little bit from our course of proceeding as it is now through the Madhya Lila to honor the, I believe it's the appearance day of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Yes, it'll be above the Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Of course, it is largely also his role connected with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Madhya Lila. Involving as it does, engaging the Goswamis in various services for establishing the Sampradaya. And we mentioned yesterday that part of his Madhya Lila, 6 years of that involves his travels. And it is his travels to the south of Jagannath Puri at that time that he met Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Sadhus, who in those days would travel, would have their travel on foot, as it would be, impeded by the monsoon, the rainy season, Chaturmas, 4 months of rain, so difficult to travel at that time. You hear about Nard in his discourse to Vyas about how he, in his life as a sadhaka, if you will, was held up in the house of his mother during the rainy season, and as Prabhupada describes in Bhakti Vedantas, stayed there during that time, and of course discussed the Bhagavatam amongst themselves and blessed him and so on and so forth. And he went on to become the great Narada Muni. So during the rainy season, sadhus tend to stay put somewhere, and that is a great blessing for the area and for those who host them, and so forth. And so while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled south, he came to Sri Rangapatnam. Now, we should preface the story of Gopal Bhatta with another significant Leela that occurred there, and that being Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's encounter with a reciter, if you will, of the Bhagavad Gita that didn't know how to read or write. How could he recite the Bhagavad Gita if he couldn't read or write? But he held the Gita in his hands and wept. Now, people not understanding his crying thought that he was crying because he couldn't read or write and access the Bhagavad Gita. And they belittled him, made fun of him, and so forth. When Mahaprabhu encountered him, he could understand that his weeping was an expression of ecstatic love. And he asked him, what is it about the Gita that makes you weep? He says, well, I'd like to read, but I can't read, but I pick it up and I think, well, I'll try anyway. But I can't get very far because as soon as I pick up the Gita, I think of Krishna as Parthasarathi in his role of picking up the, his role of being the chariot driver of Arjuna. It's like becoming your rickshaw walla. Rickshaw, come, stop. Take me here, take me there. Like this. Chariot driver, right? Parthasarathi. When I think of that, and this really is we learn this course in the first chapter of the Gita, and in essence, that is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. The first chapter is thought to be something you could skip over, or it's just some segue from the historical narrative of the Mahabharata into the actual text, but it's full of very important lessons. And this, of course, is one of them. That Krishna has taken up the role of the chariot driver of Arjuna. And the implication, of course, of it is that bhakti has the power to overwhelm Krishna and turn the personality of Godhead himself, the source of everything, into roles like one's chariot driver. And so with this picture coming to mind and the theological implications of this, he would weep in ecstatic love. And so when he explained himself as Mahaprabhu had suspected, his tears were not ordinary, and Mahaprabhu told him, you are the real knower of the Bhagavad Gita. And blessed him. So you don't have to be literate, right? To become a great devotee and knower of the scripture in its essence. If you have that, that can be useful, but be careful it doesn't become a distraction, right? We talked about this before. The intellectual sleight of hand leads one to believe that they've made spiritual progress by acquiring scriptural information without seeing to it that the head of spiritual information that they've gathered was used to soften the heart, if you will. So, he was a true knower of the Gita. Following this beautiful encounter, Mahaprabhu comes to the capital, really, of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. And there is today a memorial celebrating his visit there, his stay there for 4 months during the rainy season. I believe that a Garuda, a replica of the Garuda Stamba has been established. Garuda Stamba is Stamba stands for Garuda, from which he has the darshan of Jagannath, at a distance. Mahaprabhu would, because of a certain event, during his darshan of Jagannath, he changed his approach and stationed himself only at the Garuda Stamba at some distance from Jagannath whenever he would enter the temple for darshan. That incident was that I believe that a lady devotee, in her eagerness to see Jagannath, and was standing behind Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was quite tall. She climbed on his back in the crowd to look over his shoulder. And at that time, one of his assistants took exception to her behavior and chastised her. Mahaprabhu said, no, I can learn from her eagerness to have the darshan of Jagannath. If only that eagerness could come to me. I don't have that eagerness. I should stand back. So he would stand at the Garuda Stamba and take the darshan of Jagannath Swami. Shri Garuda Dev Ki Jai. So Garuda Stamba is established there, and the Murti of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Garuda Stamba. And during the time that he actually resided there for the monsoon season, he was hosted by arguably the head priest, Venkatabhatta. Venkatabhatta had two brothers, Tirumal and Prabodhananda. And they were very Brahmins and Vaishnavas, Sri Vaishnavas, these followers of the Sri Vaishnava tradition founded by Ramanujacharya, and their worship of Narayan, Lakshmi and Narayan, was reverential. The aim there is to attain Vaikuntha, basically. Although there some of the Alvars, the mystical poets who preceded Ramanuja, from whom Ramanuja took and their insights and developed his doctrine of Vishishta Dvaita, qualified non-dualism, in contrast to the absolute non-dualism of Shankar, whose doctrine he sought to refute.